Welcome, everybody. Monday, July 3rd. John Aravosis here with the Aravosis Report coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Here to talk about the latest news from the war in Ukraine. As always, let me get TikTok rolling here on my iPad, and then we'll take about 2 minutes for folks to arrive. Here we go. There's TikTok. And I guess we just had, is it Canada Day? What's it? It always comes before 4th of July. I saw a great, my hair is falling. Curls, curls. Oh my God. This is why people who don't have curly hair love it. And people who have curly hair are like, it's crazy. Yes, Canada Day, or whatever it's called, Independence Day in Canada, was July 1st. I learned this weekend. American Independence Day is tomorrow. So I will be skipping the show tomorrow, not because I'll be celebrating Independence Day, but because my dog will be freaking out from the firecrackers, and it's just not worth it. So I will be spending the at least by the time the show happens, I will have very loud music and television playing in the hopes that my dog doesn't hear it, because every freaking year we go through this. She'll be drugged up, but still. Thank you, Mads. Oh, anyway, welcome everybody. Do a quick hello, if you would. Just say where you're from, as always. Catherine, Newfoundland, Otanbat. Got your stuff off today, Otanbat. I know, poor Sasha. Oh my God, dogs and fireworks. I mean, literally, it's like, oh God. She's gotten better about thunderstorms. Still doesn't love them, but it's gotten better. But firecrackers, oh yeah. Last 4th of July, was the last 4th of July? I think I had to move my chair to the front door that's like 40 feet away from the TV. Thank you, user, for the gift. 40 feet away from the TV, and just sit there with her and try to get her to calm down. And I think at that point I already had drugs because I had the doctor prescribe some. Thank you, Lee, for the gift, and Fred. But any case, oh my God, craziness. All right, guys, another half minute or so, and then we'll get rolling. Just waiting for folks to arrive. Woo. But as I was saying, so I will not be doing the show tomorrow. Thank you, Elizabeth, because it's Independence Day in America. Thank you, LWD, for the gift. And I will be celebrating by hugging my dog and trying to get her to calm down from the firecrackers. So there you go. Thank you, Kay, or Kanowsi, Kay. Thank you, Salty. All right, guys, I guess I'll be going. So welcome, everybody. John Aravosis here. This is the Aravosis Report, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., where we talk about the latest news from the war in Ukraine. The way the show works, as our regulars know, I will talk about the news for half hour, sometimes 45 minutes. It just depends how much news there is. Thank you, Soren, for the gift already there. Just depends how much news there is. And then the second half of the show, I take your guys' questions. I do make an exception for super chat questions, which are basically questions that people pay for in an effort to support my work. Otherwise, questions are free, and I try to get to as many as I can. But for the super chat questions, because they're paid and because it's a gift, I will always get to those as the next thing I talk about, even when we're not in the question period. So if you do a super chat question, it'll be the next thing after I'm done with the current thought. So thank you for those. And on TikTok, however, you guys can still do gifts as well. The TikTok gifts, the fun stuff that flies on my head and etc. And when I see this, any of this big stuff, the little stuff like the hearts, I love, but I can't thank you enough. Thank you, Chad. There's too many of the little hearts. Like we've already had 4,000 of them. I couldn't thank 4,000 people in the last 3 minutes. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Succeed. But the gifts you put on my head and all of that, I will try to do a shout out whenever I see them. And as I always say, please do keep the gifts coming. I don't want to have to pitch too hard, but I do this for free. Been doing it for free since the war broke out. Thank you, Eva. And your gifts are what pay the bills and help me keep doing this. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Elizabeth. You know, that's one of my faves. There's this kind of knight's hat they do, and you fling it around, and it's very cool. Anyway, today is also Manda Bear's birthday. I think she's a TikTok mod for us. See, our mods can kind of go back and forth, but Manda Bear, it's her. I was going to joke and say 29th birthday. The only thing is, I don't know if Manda Bear is younger than 29 or a lot older than 29. But when someone's a lot older than 29, you typically joke and say 29. So I was going to say 29, but for looking at her photo, she could be 24 for all I know. Thank you, Pineapple, for the fireworks. There's also some kind of a TikTok thing where they're a contest for us to get like diamonds or something. Not diamonds, TikTok diamonds. They're fake diamonds, of course. Thank you, Marino, for the gift there. And I guess the fireworks on TikTok, the Frankfurters, and something else. I can't remember the other thing. Like the more of them, the gifts, the more diamonds we get or something. I don't know, but it's up to you. Anyway, thank you guys. Yeah, so wish Manda Bear a happy birthday. So today is day 494 of Vladimir Putin's 3-day special military operation in Ukraine. I'm just going to give up on the fact that my hair isn't honest to freaking God. Here. Like, yeah. There we go. There we go. The curse of having curly hair. People who don't have curly hair don't appreciate this. It has a mind of its own and it does things at the worst time. Although I've never had it do that to me on TV. Thank you, McFadge. On TV would be very funny, like literally falling down. Any case, guys. So yes, day 494. I will not be doing a show tomorrow because I will be hugging my dog and trying to get her to stop being terrified of the fireworks on the 4th of July. I was going to start by talking about Zelensky's interview on CNN, but I'm going to start by talking about a post I just saw, a statement today by President Zelensky's foreign minister, Kuleba. I think his first name is Dmitro or something, Kuleba. And he was talking about the F-16s, right? The American fighter jets the Ukrainians want that I've been complaining about for a while now. And what does he do? Thank you, Tom, for the gift. What does he say? But he says, he says, I'm not going to name countries. By the way, he means the United States. I'm not going to name countries. Thank you, Chad. He says, but we were promised that F-16 training was going to begin in June. It's currently July. Thank you, Tomcat. It's currently July. F-16 training for Ukrainians was supposed to start last month. It's supposed to go on, remember, like 4 to 6 months, something like that. And it didn't start. It still hasn't started. It was supposed to start a month ago. He kind of left it at that and said, actually, the statement, I should have pulled the whole statement, but basically he said something to the effect of, it was supposed to start last month. Instead of starting last month, because he said the country that promised us it would start, he means the US. He said, I'm not going to name names because I don't want to get in trouble but apparently they're still thinking about the training and they need more time to think about it. Oh, I mean, and by the way, he's totally right. This is the thing that I told you guys. Remember, this is the thing I told you, is that the United States is still looking for partners to train them on. Now, countries like Denmark have already offered. The U.S., though, has to approve it because it's, U.S. fighter jets. And according to a story just last week, the United States is thinking about which countries we should let do the training. And apparently, according to the article like a week or two ago, it might take us another couple months to come up with the answer as to which countries we will let train Ukraine on the fighter jets. Absolute just ridiculousness. Any case, Zelensky said today in an interview with CNN that he will not stop the war until Ukraine gets Crimea back and all of its territory. This is an important point because every once in a while, you hear people, I talked about it last week too. I wasn't proposing it, but I talked about the idea of Ukraine joining NATO and in exchange giving up land, this kind of thing, right? I wasn't proposing it, but I was saying like, I could imagine that being one way this ends, even though I don't know. The problem is for Zelensky, not the problem. I'm not sure it means anything that Zelensky is saying publicly that we will not stop the war until we get all of our territory back, including Crimea. I think he has to say that. There's something in sort of politics and negotiations that's called negotiating with yourself. And the idea of negotiating with yourself is, frankly, a lot of what the West has been doing the last year and a half now with Ukraine, with Russia in Ukraine, is basically telling them what we won't do. You never tell the other guy what you won't do, because every time you do that, you're giving a concession, right? So like initially when we said, well, we won't be giving tanks and we won't be giving F-16s, right? Thank you, B. Smith. And remember, like it was the first month or two of the war. Thank you, Dora. The first month or two of the war, Poland wanted to send a bunch of MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine. And the Germans got scared. We got scared. And we all said, no, we're not going to send fighter jets. And Biden even said it would cause World War III. So we're not going to send fighter jets. Every stop, we did a lot to help Ukraine too. But we also spent a lot of time publicly negotiating with ourselves. Okay. And the reason I bring that up is that thank you, Dora, for the gift there, is if you're Zelensky, and Gali, there it was, Gali or Galichanka for the heart. If you're Zelensky, you don't want to be saying, well, we would consider negotiating land away. Right? That's a concession. You don't make that concession until you're negotiating and the Russians are, seem like they're on the verge of giving you something. I don't even know in the end whether Zelensky would ever consider making a concession of land. The polls, thank you, Poppy. The polls show that Ukrainians are very much opposed. Thank you, Bonnie, for the gift. Are very much opposed to giving any kind of concession. Thank you. I see the person with the names of the 3-pound signs for the TikTok gift. Thank you. So it's hard to know whether Zelensky's basically, this is a negotiating ploy saying we're not going to negotiate until we get all the land back, or we're not going to solve the war, or whether, thank you, Mark, or whether it's real. I don't know, but I thought I'd mention it. But I wanted to also put it in context for you to say that sometimes, actually, final point, Zelensky's the president of the country. He can't go publicly and say, well, Crimea, maybe we'll just give that away. It's part of Ukraine. Even if in the end, Ukraine might be willing to, who knows, someday consider the option, he can't say it now. It's poor form. You as a leader, you can't admit something like that, even if it's in the back of your head. I don't know that it is, but there you go. Okay. Ukrainian forces shot down 13 of 17 drones fired by Russia overnight. There were no casualties, and the remaining drones did not reach their targets, according to the Ukrainian Air Force. Per CNN, Ukraine claims to have taken back 9 square kilometers of territory in the east of the country and 28 square kilometers in the south in the past week. That totals about 14 square miles, CNN said, putting it in English for the rest of us here, American English. The heaviest fighting right now in the counteroffensive, at least in the last couple of days, is taking place in Bakhmut and I wrote Marnika, but I think it's Marninka. Is it, or no, Marinka? It's Marinka, isn't it? Help me out, Ukrainians. Is it Marinka? Right here, southwest of Donetsk. I spelled it wrong, but I think it's Marinka. So right here, southwest of Donetsk, right about here, is the town of Marinka, I think it's called. And then Bakhmut, which is up here. These are the places. Now, we always knew the counteroffensive was happening here, was happening here, was happening here, and might be happening here by Kherson too, crossing the river, right? We're not too sure about that, but there were some stories last week about that. So right now, at least, the biggest fighting is here and here, just to put it out there. Russian forces have gained Marianivka. Okay, that was not in my notes. Marianivka is that the one? Is that the one that's southwest of Donetsk? Okay. Oh, I was saying Mariinka. That's in any case the one that's southwest of Donetsk. Okay, that's fine. Any case, thank you. Привет, Lilia. So what was I telling you? Oh yeah, some positive news for Russia because unlike the other guys, the Russians, we like to tell the truth about what's going on with the war in Ukraine. Russian forces have gained some. This was according to CNN. This was actually very interesting. They explained why this town matters. Russian forces have gained some ground near the eastern Ukrainian town of Svatove, Ukraine's deputy foreign minister or defense minister said on Sunday. Why it matters: the eastern town, which is located in the Luhansk region, has long been regarded as a key target for Ukrainian forces. Now, first of all, Svatove is, get my little pen out, as I recall, more or less the tip of my pen, okay? Severodonetsk, Kramatorsk, so Bakhmut is over here. So Svatove is more or less the tip of my pen. So a little bit north of where the heavy fighting is going on. The Russians are making a little bit of an advance there. It is situated along key Russian supply routes. So any eventual recapture of the town by Ukraine, I think they mean, would have important strategic implications for Ukraine. So in other words, it's a really, thank you for the gift there, for the heart. It's a really important town in terms of Russian supply. So it's important for the Ukrainians to get it and hang on to it. There were powerful explosion near the airfield in the port town of Primorsko-Akharsk in Russia's Krasnodar region. This is interesting because it's Russia starts over here. Well, you got Russia all the way over here, okay? Comes down to here, and then you've got water, and then Russia continues down here. So that is most likely, from what I recall, I think it's about up here. This would be land. Trust me on this. Russia, and there was an explosion near the airport, which is good because it shows the Ukrainians are continuing to attack in Russia itself to hit the supplies. So now hitting the airport, it's possible they hit the airport to take the airport out. It's also possible that near the airport there are supplies. There's fuel. There's often fuel in there, in the area around there too. There's often fuel because there are a number of oil refineries or oil storage or whatever it is in that area. Thank you, Riven. So it could be. I'm going to guess it could be fuel. Wagner. So a Wagner Group update. This is kind of interesting. Sip of water, and then let's have a Wagner update. So the Wagner Group, you guys recall, are the mercenaries. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. I love shaking the back of that thing. The Wagner Group are the mercenaries that tried to overthrow the Putin government about a week or so ago. They were unsuccessful. And their leader was basically banished to Belarus. Belarus is a BFF of Putin, right up here. It's a nice country by. Oh, let me move over. There you go. A nice country by all reports, but it's run by a dictator and has been for going on its third decade now. A dictator named Lukashenko. Lukashenko is big friends with Putin, and as part of the deal to get Prigozhin, who runs the mercenary group, who was running the coup, for to get him to back down, he had to, or as part of the deal, I should say, he had to agree to move to Belarus. Now, interesting, because all of us were trying to figure out what does that mean, right? And will he even be doing Wagner? Will he, right? I mean, because there was all sorts of signs that they might be even closing down Wagner. They took the sign off their building in St. Petersburg. First, they started advertising again. Then we heard they might not be advertising. So kind of weird, like, were they shutting it down? Well, what's interesting here, so this is from a Telegram channel affiliated with Prigozhin, okay, with the leader of the coup, who was also the leader of the Wagner Group. It says that Prigozhin's private military company, the Wagner Group, is suspending its recruitment efforts for 1 month as it moves operations to Belarus. That part I thought was very interesting. So Wagner itself came out and said that it is moving its operations to Belarus. That means a couple things. First of all, it means Wagner is not being shut down. That's interesting. Second of all, if Wagner is moving its operations to Belarus and Prigozhin is being forced in exile to be in Belarus, then it seems to follow that Prigozhin will still have a hand in Wagner Group, which is very interesting because I did not think that was the kind of thing that Putin would be very happy with, right? You'd think as part of the deal, if Putin could, he would say, I won't kill Prigozhin, but I'm going to basically cut off any connection he's got. Thank you, Cheryl, for the whale. Appreciate that. I'm going to cut off any connection that Prigozhin has to his strength, which are his troops, right? I mean, the last thing you need is a guy that has his own army, right? That's dangerous, and especially dangerous when he already committed a coup. So very interesting. I mean, we still don't know what's going on, but like I said, it sounds like the Wagner Group is going to live to fight another day. It sounds like they're going to be hosted in Belarus, and it sounds like Prigozhin's going to still have a hand in it. Otherwise, why would it be in Belarus? The question then becomes, what will they do with it? Will it still be fighting in Ukraine? Doesn't seem like it. Will it only be doing the work in Africa that they've been doing, right? What does this mean, by the way, like we said, for Poland or for the Baltic countries, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, two of them border Poland, border Belarus, Poland borders Belarus. All of them are very worried about basically having some, basically a sophisticated street gang. Thank you, Carol, for the galaxy. Having a street gang move in next door, which is basically what it is when you get the Wagner Group moving in. So very interesting. We just don't know. So a quick pitch to support my work after I sip my water here. So one of the ways that I ask folks to support me, if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, don't worry about it. But since I do this full time, and this is my job, thank you, Dora, and the money, my salary, so to speak, is quite literally the fun gifts you guys give me on TikTok, those great super chat questions and super stickers like Cheryl's perfect right there. That's how I pay the bills. That is my salary. So one of the ways you guys can help out is I've got monthly subscriptions you can do, which basically is a way just to contribute each month. And you can turn it off whenever you want. We're not like the cable bill. You don't have to commit for 2 years. And unlike Comcast, I won't lie to you about what the bill is. But the one way you can do it is if you're on YouTube. YouTube folks can now just subscribe with YouTube subscriptions. I believe, actually, Syndicate, I think you're there. Maybe you can tell people, but I think Syndicate said you simply can sign up by hitting the $ at the bottom of the chat box, I think. And one of the options comes up might be subscriptions, something like that. I'm obviously doing a very bad pitch for the YouTube folks, but Syndicate, if you want to maybe tell them, because I saw you mention it once, that's why I was saying it. But as I said, it's a nice way of supporting my work. And by doing that, okay, Syndicate says I'm right. Whew. By doing that, And actually the same thing for you guys on TikTok and elsewhere. You can also go to Ko-fi.com. It's ko-fi.com/Aravosis. For the YouTube folks, it's at the bottom of the screen. For the rest of you, you can go to my profile on TikTok, click the Linktree link, and the first thing that comes up is Ko-fi. You can go to Ko-fi as well, do the same thing. And when you sign up for a monthly subscription, that means monthly, not just one time, you will automatically become a VIP member of my Discord community. That means you get access to my Saturday morning show that I do almost every Saturday morning. Thank you, Simon. Almost every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Usually my friend Vlad in Ukraine beams in and we talk about the latest, what's going on in Ukraine. And you will be VIP for our auctions we hold on Discord. And we've got really cool auctions. I'll show you some of the stuff later, but cool auctions to benefit Ukraine, stuff that I buy in Ukraine and we bring it back here. We auction it off and half the money goes to Ukraine, half the money goes to support my work. But we've got two auctions, one for the public and one for VIPs. You'll be a VIP. So if you can do it, I appreciate it. Up to you guys. But for YouTube members, like I said, you can do it by clicking the little link at the bottom of the screen that has the $ under the comment box. And by the way, thank you, Brendy. I see Brendy commenting. I can see because your name is a different color. So like, at least on my screen, Brendy's name is green, which means she is a subscriber on YouTube. So thank you very much for that, Brendy. There you go, guys. And thank you. And remember, Ko-fi for the other guys, you can find the link in my bio. Click it and member yourself as far as you want to. That was just, I don't know. That wasn't quite English. You get what I mean. Thanks, guys. Okay, let's move on. A new investigative. I saw this story earlier today, and I saw one report on it that made no sense. Hey, Nick, good to see you. I saw a story that didn't make a lot of sense, and then I read more about it elsewhere, and it does make sense. So, you might, if you've been paying attention to the war crimes discussion, you know that there are like crimes against humanity, war crimes, all these different categories of crimes, right? For war crimes. But there's also a crime of aggression. And if you recall, we were saying that Russia couldn't be really accused of the crime of aggression, in part because it would have to be referred to the United Nations. And if it goes to the United Nations, the Security Council that Russia's on that has a veto would just veto it, right? And it was kind of a weird, remember, it was a kind of a weird story. Another issue with crime of aggression, which is a sort of I don't know if they're calling it a war crime exactly, but they're calling it, well, are they calling it a war crime? I don't know if they're calling it a war crime, but it's akin to a war crime. It's a crime. Well, it's a crime related to war, so maybe it would be a war crime. Is that the International Criminal Court can't prosecute crimes of aggression against countries that are not signatories to the International Criminal Court's treaty, which is called the Rome Treaty. Okay, so basically, countries, the U.S. is one of those countries. Russia is another one of those countries that don't accept the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court can't come after them for crimes of aggression. Well, they set up a new body that can, C-A-N, go after Russia for crimes of aggression. It's called the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine. It's in The Hague, in the Netherlands. It was just announced today. It will be comprised of a joint investigation team of prosecutors from Ukraine, Lithuania, Poland, Estonia, Latvia, Slovakia, and Romania that will probe Russia's crime of aggression in Ukraine with support from the EU, the US, and the International Criminal Court. The UN has defined aggression as the use of armed force by a state against the sovereignty, territorial integrity, or political independence of another state, or in any other manner inconsistent with the Charter of the United Nations. So this is another way of going after Russia. What I've not seen yet, okay, Syndicate is saying a crime of aggression is considered a war crime under international law. Okay. I'd be curious as to what, so what, right? I'd be curious to see what can this court actually do? Can this court go after Russian money? Can this court go after individuals? Right, in the Russian government, like who can it actually go after, and what can they actually do? Obviously, getting jurisdiction of the individual is difficult, like getting Putin, but being able to go after Russian money would be interesting too, if they could. Basically, to say yes, Russia committed the crime, and they owe Ukraine, $300 billion to pay for reparations for everything they've destroyed in the economy, for example. Anyway, don't know, but I'm saying that's the kind of stuff my legal mind wants to know next, which is how can they actually enforce a judgment, basically. Thank you, Phil, for the super sticker. The Russia. Oh yeah, Russia canceled its international air show for the first time in 30 years. This is kind of a big deal. Thank you, Elizabeth. Russia's air show, the public loves it in Russia, and it's a big source of pride for Russia. Like they love to have their air show. They canceled it. Well, they're not going to really say, but the thinking is they canceled it because of the war. And certainly, significant reason is because of security. With Ukraine being able to get the drones going all the way to Moscow, or maybe the drones are starting around Moscow. Remember, we don't quite know where the Ukrainian drones are coming from. Is Ukraine smuggling them in and then flying them around, or are they flying them from Ukraine? Who knows? But the concern would be Russia flying planes and Ukraine. I mean, imagine the visual of Ukraine getting in there and knocking down some of the Russian fighter planes. I mean, amazing, right? So that's one of the big reasons that it's thought that the Russians are canceling it is security. But all around, it still is a big deal because this is the first time in 30 years Russia's had to cancel this thing. So, kudos to Ukraine. European Union, this is annoying. Okay, so Russia has been trying to, how do I put this? Russia's trying to kill the grain deal again. Remember how Ukraine, since last summer, because a deal was reached between the United Nations, Turkey, Ukraine, and Russia, Ukraine was able to export grain around the world. Half of their grain goes to, I believe, North Africa and Middle East. I shouldn't say half. I'm forgetting now. I think half. I think half of it. I think half of it goes to the North Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, and the other half goes to Europe of the grain. Russia basically stopped it for the first 3 months of the war and threatened that they would, shoot the boats or whatever of Ukrainian ships bringing grain around the world. And they reached this deal, and Russia's threatening to kill the deal now. Now, Russia is threatening to kill the deal because, of course, Russia wants the Europeans to loosen some of the sanctions, right? Because it's got all these sanctions. Well, and this really pisses me off. The European Union is considering, this is according to Financial Times today, the European Union is considering allowing a Russian bank currently under sanction the chance to create a subsidiary which could reconnect to the global financial network in exchange for Russia not threatening to starve people in Africa. I mean, like, can we just, I mean, this is what I mean, like, about the negotiating with yourself. Please, Russia, don't starve people in Africa, a region that you are desperate to get on your side, a region that has not taken side in the war, mind you. And by the way, don't cut off grain to China, which is one of the biggest purchasers of Ukrainian grain is China. Please, Russia, don't screw your best friend China, right? Don't screw over the Africans who you're trying to woo. In other words, you're the one that's got more interest in wooing China. You're the one that's got more from the Africans. Why don't we, the Europeans, just cave and give you a little sanction relief? And by the way, make sure in 3 months when the treaties renegotiate, because they've been renegotiating this deal every 3 months, make sure you renegotiate again in 3 months, Russia. Threaten to kill it again, and the Europeans will cave again. Not just the Europeans. I blame all of us for this. This is exactly like Russia taking the hostages remember, they started with Brittany Griner. And what do? They take Brittany Griner. So what do? Idiots like the Wall Street Journal decide they're going to keep their reporters in Russia. And what does the Russia do? They kidnap a Wall Street Journal reporter. Woo-woo! Then I'm watching CNN the other day, and there's CNN reporters in Russia. I mean, there are still reporters, still journalistic organizations, newspapers, etc., that have reporters in Russia. At this point, I mean, but that's what this reminds me of. This was the whole idea about negotiating with terrorists. You've heard sort of the aphorism or whatever, the truism, or not even true, maybe aphorism, that, you should never negotiate with terrorists. The reason is not just because it's like immoral or whatever. The reason is if you negotiate with terrorists, if you negotiate with a kidnapper, he's going to kidnap you again. And he's going to kidnap other people again because you've told him, if you kidnap my people, it's worth a lot of money and I'm going to give you something you want. So go ahead and kidnap more. And the same thing happens with this, is that with this grain deal, if we cave to Russia's threats, then Russia's going to do it again next time. They're going to demand even more stuff. Why we don't turn around, Admiral Stavridis, who was the head of NATO a while back, he has a proposal out there. And his proposal is that basically we go and we send warships to escort the boats. That the boats go under flags of. I'm forgetting exactly his proposal, but I think his proposal was the actual grain ships go under the flags of friendly countries, so they can go under the American flag, the British flag, countries that basically, if Russia attacks them, they're at war with big countries, and then they're escorted by big warships. Okay, why don't we do that? Why make the Russians attack the fleet if they want to go after this grain? But why we sit here and we go, oh, let's cave and let's give Russia something that let's let the sanctions up because poor Russia's threatening to, not to mention, again, Russia's threatening to starve Africa, that it's desperate to get Africa on its side. Remember how South Africa, again, most immoral country of late. Thank you, Callum, that South Africa has been on Russia's side in this whole war. I really feel like let Russia cut off the grain. I mean, let Russia cut off grain to South Africa and other countries. Let them. See, China, like I said, China, I'm going to stop with this, but China, I believe, is the biggest single buyer of Ukrainian grain. I know they're way on the top of the list. Let Russia cut off China's grain. Could you imagine how long would that fly? China, I mean, Putin is Russia's Lukashenko. I mean, excuse me, Putin is China's Lukashenko. A little complicated, but I mean, thank you, Callum. But Putin is China's dog. He's Xi's little puppy. And if Xi turns around and goes, I want my grain, Putin's going to do it. Just really ticks me off. Another thing that ticks me off. So a Russian politician today admitted that Russia has taken 700,000 Ukrainian children over the last several years. Now, he's claiming that, because remember that Russia started this war in 2014. Russia did not start the war last year. They started this recent invasion last year, right? But in 2014, Russia took Crimea. So this part they took back then. They took part of the land here. And then last year they invaded and took the rest of it. Well, they took a lot more, and then Ukraine's been kicking them out, and now Ukraine's starting to kick them out of here too, right? But this war's been going on since 2014. And since that time, a Russian politician admitted today that Russia has taken 700,000 Ukrainian children. And they claim, thank you, Hazel, Russia claims they did it because they needed to protect the children in times of war, right? BS, Russia kidnapped the kids. As I've said before, if Russia had to take kids to protect them, thank you, Callum, and please do keep the gifts coming on TikTok, guys, I appreciate it. If Russia had to protect these children, like it's, killing their parents, whatever Russia does in the war, like they killed this famous Ukrainian writer in that pizza parlor attack, the same parlor attack that they killed the two 14-year-old girls, the sisters, who went for an ice cream cone, and Russia killed them because they went for pizza, basically for ice cream. And Russia decided to blow up a pizza parlor because that's the kind of stuff Russia does. So Russia claims, thank you, Chazak. Well, we killed your parents and now there's orphans, so we're going to take the orphans back to Russia. No, what you could easily do is turn the orphans over to the Ukrainians, right? I mean, there are prisoner of war exchanges all the time. That works just fine. Why, if Russia has contacts with Ukraine that they can exchange prisoners of war, Russia has contacts with Ukraine that they can exchange children. Right? The same channels where you call up and go, hey, I've got 100 prisoners to give you. Thank you, Karen, for that. They can call up and go, hey, I've got 100 children to give you. But Russia isn't doing that. Russia took this number, guys, 700,000 children. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. I mean, blows my mind with this. Anyway, what was this? Oh, this was funny. Ukraine being just snippy as hell. Thank you, Dak. Via Sky News, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry shared a video yesterday warning potential Russian holidaymakers away from Crimean beaches. In a message posted to Twitter, the ministry said, "We warned you last summer to stay away from Crimea. Our seasonal forecast calls for stormy weather." Clips accompanying the text show Ukrainian attacks on Crimea while tourists and holidaymakers watch in horror as Madonna's Holiday plays in the background. Holiday, right? Madonna, fabulous. And finally, thank you, Dak, a 13-mile-long line is continuing to grow at the Kerch, I think it's the Kerch Bridge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Thank you, Darkish. Southern Russia. Yeah, with the Kerch Bridge. So this was kind of interesting. Thank you, Darkish. So there's about a 12-mile distance or something like that. I don't know, 16 kilometers, whatever here, something like 11, 12 miles. And then it connects to Russia. And then, like I said, Russia continues out here. The bridge there that, remember, Ukraine blew it up last fall, and it's been repaired, or at least mostly repaired at this point. And there's a 13 kilometer long, which is maybe 8 miles or so, line growing this way to cross the bridge this way to go into Crimea. Now, what's interesting about that is folks were talking about this last week as to whether the line was actually to get out, like whether it was the Russians were worried about the war. Doesn't sound like they're worried, but what the line could be is, I seem to recall that when the bridge was blown up last fall, we believe it was a truck bomb, right? Thank you, Ernie. We believe it was a truck bomb. And I think, I'm 99% sure that the bomb started on the Russian side. I think it did. Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but didn't the bomb start on the Russian side? Because if it did, that may be why they're checking even more on the Russian side about possibly bombs coming in. The other possibility is that they're worried about actual partisans themselves coming. But yeah, Red Shot saying it did. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Chris is saying the same thing. I remember it coming from the Russian side, because I remember thinking how strange it was. It came from the Russian side, which does make you think partisans. By the way, Mike is mentioning partisans on TikTok. It makes me think it's that Russian Legion or whoever it was. Thank you, John, for the goggles. Right, that it could have been that Russian Legion that did it. So in any case, I wonder if that isn't a sign that Russia is worried again about another truck bomb coming across. Could be lots of other things, but it made me think about it. All right, guys, let's go to, you know what I'll do real quick. We're done with the news. We will do questions in a minute. Let me show you a couple of the cool auction items we've got in our auctions. The auctions end on Wednesday. At this point, pretty much all my auctions for the week, they go for a week and then they end on Wednesday. I launch them like Thursday or so. And remember, the auctions are on our Discord, discord.aravosis.com. Half the auctions are for everybody. Half the auctions are only for the paid members as a thank you. Those are the folks who do the YouTube subscriptions I talked about. Not my birthday, Wilson. Thank you, though. I knew when I put it up there, it's Manda's birthday. But thank you. Thank you for Manda. If you do the YouTube subscriptions or the Ko-fi subscriptions, and the Ko-fi subscriptions you guys can find on TikTok via the Linktree link in my profile on TikTok. Click it, and the first thing that comes up is Kofi. Go there and sign up for a monthly subscription, or on YouTube, sign up for the monthly subscription just by clicking the $ at the bottom of your screen, at the bottom of the comment box. And that will make you a VIP member, which gives you VIP access to the auction. Half the auction stuff that only the VIPs can get. Now, just to show you a couple of the fun stuff we've got in the auction. Cool Ukrainian fridge magnet. It's a Christmas star, and it's a Christmas star ornament from Ukraine, made by the government, but it's also a fridge magnet, which I kind of like, because it means when it's not Christmas, you can put it on your fridge. And then when it is Christmas, it goes on your tree, which is kind of cute. This is one of my favorites. From CK Ariette. I'm never going to remember your first name ever, because you are always CK to me now. Drives me. I'm forgetting your name. Anyway, no, you're not the one who made. I'm Clarissa. I'm sorry, not CK. CK made the other cool jewelry. We have one more thing from CK, by the way. This is not hers. We have one more cool thing from CK that we're auctioning off probably this coming week. This is Larissa. I'm sorry. This is from Larissa, who's Wild Hunt. Larissa made these. Larissa's a Ukrainian American, and this is a traditional Ukrainian pattern that she made. It's a choker. Thank you, Chad. It's a choker, a woman's choker, absolutely beautiful. Oops. But it's a traditional pattern that a famous Ukrainian feminist writer wore, and she redid it. It's not yours. I know you did the cool earrings and the cool necklace. Your necklace we're still going to put up probably on Wednesday. This is Clarissa, who's Wild Hunt, and these things, which I love as well, these plaques, this plaque, this is one of my favorite plaques because it's the Russian warship Go F Yourself plaque, which is great. It's got the little thing so you can stand it on a table or it goes on the wall, but it's the Ukrainian soldier giving the finger to the Russian boat, the Moskva. And the Moskva is the boat where, when it told the Ukrainians to surrender, they got on the horn and said, Russian warship, go F yourself. And then 6 weeks later, Ukraine sank the Russian boat, which was fabulous. So there's that. And then the final thing, there's 10 things. I'm not going to show you all 10. Thank you, John, for the gift. But the final thing, and I will say this is one of my favorites. is an authentic Ukrainian camouflage net from the military. And these are really cool because we have been raising money to help the Ukrainian military make these camouflage nets. And I asked them, could you make us some nets to auction off for folks? And again, 50% of the auction money goes to Ukraine, 50% goes to support my work. And they said, sure. And they made us these nets. This one is a spring or summer net. And you can tell because it's got some of that green. It's almost like springtime colors, right? So some of that green. It's 9 feet by 2 feet. I kid you. The thing that's nice though is it scrunches really small, right? 9 feet by 2 feet, which is 3 meters by 2/3 of a meter, and going to the highest bidder. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but it's fun, and it's an authentic Ukrainian camouflage net from the military. And they just made one a little bit smaller. You could cover your car. Actually, I will say we have a camouflage net coming up, not for a few more weeks. But I had asked them initially. I said, could you the same looms you use to make the camouflage nets for the military, could you just use the same loom and make us a camouflage net that's a yard by a yard, right? And I was like, perfect, right? Why not? A yard by a yard, a meter by a meter. Well, they send me, one of the ones they sent me is like 16 feet by 10 feet. It's like 5 meters by 3 meters. I was like, are you insane? So that one you could use to cover your car. Yes, you absolutely could. The only problem is there's holes in between. So I don't know if it's protecting your car. It would protect your car from Shahed drones. It may not protect your car from birds. That's the only thing I'll say. All right. In any case, it's over at our Discord, discord.aravosis.com. You can find all of our auctions. Please do check it out. And the Discord's free anyway, but do go check it out. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, those auctions end on Wednesday. Almost done here. Almost done. Oh, no, I did finish the news. Yes, I did finish the news. Okay, let's go and do questions then. All right, TikTok. Oh, we've got the fake notification guy is here again. Everybody, before you ban the guy on TikTok, make sure everybody goes and reports this account. The notification account is a fake. It's a troll, obviously, because like TikTok's going to warn us in poor English. Okay, well, I guess we're not reporting. Okay, I wanted to mass report that guy first, mods, just so you know. Next time we see him, let's have everybody mass report it first to try to get some attention and then ban them. Oh, there's 2 of them. That's funny. Annie asks, is there any fighting or bombing happening in Crimea? Bombing, yes. Fighting, no. Well, not that we know of, put it that way. The situation for Crimea is that Ukrainian troops, I mean, the front is still like this. And by front, I mean the demarcation line between Russian troops to the east and the south. So here, Russian troops are south, south, south. Russian troops are east, right? So this is all Russian troops. So the fighting tends to be along here. That's why you've got fighting in Kherson. You've got fighting here. You've got fighting here. The biggest fighting today the last day is here and here at Bakhmut, because this is the front here as well. So you don't have Ukrainian troops that we know of actually fighting here in Crimea. It's possible there are some Ukrainian sabotage groups working undercover. Possible. It is very likely that there are Ukrainian partisans working in Crimea, meaning Ukrainian citizens who are basically working secretly for the Ukrainian intelligence, because they've been doing that a lot up here in this region. We also know, for example, funny that you asked that. I didn't mention the story because it was unsuccessful, but the Russians claim that the Ukrainians tried to blow up the Russian appointed head of Crimea. So the fake, because Russia's occupying the territory, the fake governor of Crimea, the Russians claim that the Ukrainians just tried to blow him up. Now, first of all, Russia lies about everything. So keep in mind, it may not be true. Sorry, I'm going to block somebody. Angel gets its wings. Angle gets its wings. Woo woo. There we go. I wanted to block the Canadian one myself. Yeah, mute the, thank you. So if that story is true, somebody is in Crimea planting bombs. And typically, at least further north, it's probably partisans. So it's probably Ukrainian citizens who are helping out. So that's the kind of fighting. And finally, bombing. Yes, we know there's bombing. There's been bombing of, there's been, bombing around here, around Sevastopol, attacks, I should say, around Sevastopol. Some of those attacks were from the sea. Around Simferopol, there were definitely some bombings up here, or attacks, because remember, the up here was really significant because they took out an intersection where a lot of train and roads meet. So that basically, at least currently, there was a bridge taken out actually up here. I think the bridge may be fixed now, but in any case, so a lot of bombings, but not a lot of men. There aren't a lot of Ukrainian troops on the ground because they haven't gotten that far yet, but there may be secret troops on the ground. Yes. Don't know, Cliff. Cliff is asking, when will Blackhawks or Apache Cobra Chinooks arrive? I have no idea. I have not heard any. No, I haven't even heard that they're getting Blackhawks. Are they? I have no idea. Or helicopters overall from us. Are they getting helicopters from us? I just don't know. Anybody, just to answer Cliff's question? Anything on Blackhawks, Apaches, Cobras, or Chinooks? Yeah, Mike is saying yeah. Okay. Nah, straggling, except that's not in English. Yeah, that's nice Russian. I'll let you guys get Mamacita, who's clearly not American. I love that. Americans are straggling here. Well, if they're straggling, they need to get moving. Straggling. She's not American. That was a fake troll. The word is struggling. And let me remind folks that the Americans who are struggling here, the Republicans killed a $3 trillion infrastructure bill to help struggling Americans. So the problem isn't Ukraine. The problem is the people who killed the bill. So if you want the bill to pass, talk to your same Republican lawmakers who already oppose Ukraine. Tell them you want them to pass some damn bills to help you out. But the money, Ukraine's not the problem. Anybody else? I know Ukrainian crowdfunded one Blackhawk. Get out of here. I did. I saw it Syndicate, but I wasn't really sure what to make of the story. One of the Sea Kings. Oh, that's right. The Sea Kings. We knew that about the Brits. Yes, one of the Sea Kings was flown by Prince Andrew in the Falklands contest. The Brits supplied like 3 Sea Kings or something, but they supplied several Sea King helicopters that can be used. Well, they're used for like sea ref. Yeah. Thank you, Kathleen. I read that they're used for sea rescues, but then there was one article I read that said they also can be used for hunting submarines, which I thought was a very interesting little addition, right? Whether Ukraine's using it to go after Russia's subs. Syndicate saying, have you seen anything about the former head of Ukrainian security service in Crimea standing trial for treason? Yes, but that's about it. So he's the head of Ukrainian security or internal security, so like the Interior Ministry or whatever, for Crimea, and he was working for Russian intelligence, and one of his jobs was to recruit as many people as possible working for Ukrainian like intelligence, security. We don't really, I guess maybe you'd call it like the FBI. I'm not sure what you'd call it. You might call it like the FBI if you're American, in sort of internal. When we say internal security, we don't really have that. For an American, it's kind of a funny concept. It makes me think of the Soviet Union whenever I hear that phrase. But I think they mean like the FBI, that kind of stuff. So he was tasked with appointing as many basically Russian spies, people who sympathized with Russia, as possible. And they caught him. And now he's up. Now, the interesting thing is, though, in Ukraine, when you're charged with treason, you can only get up to 15 years in prison, which as an American, that just sounds crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. The idea that you only get 15 years in prison for treason, but that's what you get in Ukraine. Because I've been noticing time and again, that's the charge. 15 years. I'm like, wow. Nickname? Koti Khoroshko. Zelensky fired him from his post in March 2022. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Isn't Russia stronger than ever, having the backing of China, India, and Africa? Okay, Africa, nobody cares. China and India, I mean, not trying to be rude, I'm saying strategically, big deal, right? South Africa, congratulations. China and India, yeah, China helps a lot. India does too. China could help militarily, but it helps economically. India is helping economically a lot because they're buying a lot of is it oil, maybe natural gas too. I don't remember, a lot of the oil. and weapons too. So those guys are helping a lot. The only thing is Russia already had those. So it doesn't change anything. It's not like Russia suddenly, again, Africa, nobody cares. It's not like Russia suddenly got China and India on board and we went, oh my God, China has jumped ship and now they're helping Russia. China's always been on Russia's side and so is India. So, again, that's nice. Guess who Ukraine's got? The rest of the world. Ukraine's got the US, the UK, the European Union, NATO, and we're providing the kind of weapons that China's not providing. So that means Ukraine's in a better situation than Russia is. What else we got? All right, more questions. And remember, on TikTok, you can use the Q&A link in my profile to submit questions as well. Please do keep the gifts coming. Let me see here. Beep, 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 beep. Oops. Come on. Thank you, Randy. And Achilles. I love that your name's. Is your name really Achilles? Or is that just a gnome to Twitter, gnome to TikTok? Let me see here. Oh, here we go. Q&A. Oh my God, they took away my Q&A button. TikTok, what are you doing? TikTok took away my Q&A button. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Hold on. I'm gonna get rid of this and pull it back up. Oh my God. TikTok went from cutting back my Q&A. It's gone now. I'm gonna kill these people. Look at this. It now just has tips. The Q&A button's gone. Unbelievable. Look at this. There's no Q&A button. I can't pull up your questions. Unbelievable, these people. I am telling you, I want to come back as a rabbit. I'm thinking of that song. Thank you, Simon. I want to come back as like as a designer in the future, because I'm going to just like beat up all these people that create these things. What kind of an idiot? What kind of an idiot got rid of that? Yeah, you've got it on your end. That's cute. Ashley's got it on her end. I don't. They removed it. Unbelievable. Thank you, Kathleen. Oh, the gift box. Ooh, Kathleen, thank you. Ooh, the coins. The gift box thing is like multiple gifts. That was super generous of you. Oh, did I miss the first two? Oh, maybe it's one thing. I thought it was three. Either way, it was still very generous of you. Thank you for that. I did close the app and restart it. Gee, thanks, Ash. Ashley's giving me. I do appreciate the advice, Ashley. I do appreciate the advice. Thank you for the hat, Charles. But I already know to close and No, it's not your fault. It actually it can make a difference sometimes, but mine, it didn't matter. I had already, before I complained publicly to you all, I already had closed it and opened it up again. My God. No, but I mean, what kind of an idiotic thing to get rid of the Q&A. I told them this before. We used to get like 90 questions when I would have the questions be in the TikTok chat itself. It would have the Q&A in the TikTok chat. We get 90 questions. Here we get like a handful. I don't even know. I'm trying to look really quick and see. Let me look and see. I don't think I've even got it. With my luck, they put it in here somewhere. Let me see just for fun if they put questions in here. Interact. No. Draw words for viewers. I love this. Draw and guess. Draw words for viewers to guess. Wouldn't that be fun, kids? We could all play Hangman together. Woo-woo. Yeah, there's no way for me to pull this. That's it. There's no way for me to pull it up. Yep. Hear your voice. I don't want to hear my voice. Settings, interact. That's it. Yep. Okay. Well, you know what then, guys? Put your questions on the screen because TikTok, thank you, Crazy American, for the heart. TikTok has gotten rid of my question link. I cannot believe they did that. It's just unbelievably stupid. Well, they do stuff that's just really dumb. I mean, why would you do that? Right? It like, wouldn't you want engagement? Like we get more. I mean, you guys are great. Like I said, the kind of, I would get, I know, well, that's okay. What's even worse is that some of you have the Q&A box. So I can't, I mean, I'm going to pull this up again. I can't even like, what's the point here? I can't even, and there's, hold on, let me look though. There's nothing at the bottom of the screen. There used to be a thing at the bottom of the screen. But what was that? Oh, thank you, Jules. Get John to, I don't even know. What the hell was that? Callum, something from Callum popped up at the bottom of the screen. I don't even know what that was. It said, get John to ask TikTok something. Oh, maybe he sent me a note or something. I don't even know. You're confusing me, Callum. What was that? It popped up on the bottom. Hold on. Business? Nope. Subscribers? Okay. Nope. Yeah. I'm not going to share it with anybody. Enhance? That's always nice. Ooh, am I enhancing? Wasn't I enhancing? Smooth filters. Okay, we like that. Nope. I'm sorry, guys. I'm looking one last time for the Q&A. Nope, they took it. Evil, evil, evil. All right. Well, don't go submit your questions because I can't read them. Thank you, Kathleen. Yet another gift from Kathleen. What is this one? Oh, it tricked me. Okay. Thank you, Kathleen. All right. Let's just take your questions on the screen then. Does Medvedev have any power in the eyes of Putin? Asked Pedro. Today wanted to cut diplomatic ties with Finland. He's insane. Did you? I didn't even say what Medvedev, I can never pronounce his name, did today. He did some long thing once again. Nuclear again. This is Mr. Nuclear War, the guy who threatens nuclear war 3 times a week. He did it again. He's been missing for a week, by the way. He disappeared when the coup happened. He went to Oman and was like missing for a week. Not a word out of this guy, which frankly is suspicious as hell because he's just like, he can't stop talking. And they think he's a little, alcoholic, but cannot stop talking. And he's the guy that threatens nuclear war 3 times a week. He threatened nuclear war again. This time he said, we're as close to nuclear war than we've ever been, even more than the Cuban Missile Crisis. And it's like, no, we aren't. No, we aren't. And by the way, if we're so close to nuclear war, this is the thing. This is the thing that and I realize it makes sense for Biden not to do this, but my evil inner American kind of wants to come out and go, yeah, we are. And I got news for you. If we get into nuclear war, you die. Like at some point, somebody needs to just call the Russians on this and go, if we get into a nuclear war, like you keep threatening, all of you will die. So maybe you need to start figuring out how to stop us from getting into a nuclear war, right? But that's the thing you've got to be telling these guys. I mean, that's the thing, we should be telling them outright. It drives me crazy with this stuff. Absolutely crazy. But I mean, because again, he's doing it to freak people out. Thank you, Bonnie. And he's doing it to give aid and comfort to people like Elon Musk and his crazies who want to freak everybody out too. Updates on the power plant, not too much. The Zaporizhia nuclear plant was reconnected to its backup power. When I say backup power, I mean like a backup line of power for the first time in 4 months. So that's better. Because at least it's a little more secure, because the big concern with the plant isn't that someone's going to bomb it, although that is a concern. The bigger plant is they're going to bomb the water basin, the coolant system for the plant. Because if the coolant system gets bombed, then the plant melts down, right? And that's not a good thing. So it just got connected to another thing, which is great. Another backup, which means at least for the moment, less likely to lose its coolant and therefore overheat and melt down. More questions. Do you think the revolt was a redeploy for Wagner to take Kyiv? Bad omen. I mean, it's possible. I guess I kind of feel like if you wanted to take the Wagner group, okay, Wagner group fighting down here at the front, 25% of the forces fighting at the front are the Wagner mercenary group, the guys that tried to overthrow the government last week. 25% is down here. If you wanted to take them and put them up here in Belarus to attack here, why don't you just do it? I mean, why don't you just move the troops from here, put them on little buses, take them over here and drop them off and let them invade? I mean, why do you have to pretend there was a coup? And why do you have to pretend, Prigozhin's in exile? I mean, if the Wagner troops are in Belarus anyway, Ukraine is going to have to take seriously the possibility that they might invade from the north. So they're going to have to take it seriously anyway. So I'm not sure why. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I'm just not sure why Russia would have to lie about it and go, also because the coup makes Putin look incredibly weak. That coup did not help him. Maybe it didn't help Wagner, but it didn't help Putin either. It made him look weak, and it made others in Russia thinking of challenging him think that, what? Yeah, that's cute. Actually, that is kind of a good little, actually, I just saved the results of that poll because I'm going to share it with TikTok. Yeah, so I think it's entirely possible that the Russians could use Wagner in Belarus to attack Ukraine from the north. It's also entirely possible that they simply want to get them somewhere else that's not Ukraine because they don't trust them. So could be. Give me more questions. YouTube and TikTok. He might be. Yeah, Ryan is Putin is no hard man. Like he wants people to think he's fragile. I think he's fragile. Thank you, Chad, for the galaxy. I think he's definitely fragile. You know. What else? What else? What else? Can NATO take control of Ukraine so Russia can't protect? You mean so Russia can't attack the Kyiv government? I mean, NATO. Look, if thank you, Bonnie. If NATO were A, invited by Ukraine, and B, agreed to do it, oh, excuse me, I'm going to yawn at you. NATO could, what the hell that means, Tom? NATO could go in, for example, and set up a no-fly zone, which would help Ukraine. But we're not going to do it. You know what I mean? So, like, there's lots of things we could do if we wanted to do it, but we don't want to do it because, we're afraid. Yeah, Tom, I have no idea what that comment about Q&A. I realize you guys see the Q&A. I don't is the point. That's the problem. See? On my, oops, it's too bright. Why is it so bright? Oh, it's doing hold on. I forgot I can touch my screen. Ooh, hello. Hello. Here we go. There it is. See? Ooh, why does it like overcompensate there? Hang on. Ooh. For the first time, it's not showing my screen. Trust me. Q&A is not on my phone screen. So if you guys submit, which is really idiotic thing, because then you can submit questions and, yeah, it's insane. All right. Oh, happy 4th of July. It's 12 midnight in Ireland. Thank you, Anthony. Right. We don't hold 4th of July against the Irish, only against the English. In my opinion, the UN should tag along with the grain boats if Russia won't continue the deal. Well, that's exactly what they should do. I was saying the Vatican. Let Russia sink the Pope's ships. Seriously. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that we sit there and we pander to these guys, Wagner might be, yeah. Give Me Food is asking, do you think Wagner is strong enough to essentially conquer Belarus? Yes. Hell, they were strong enough to potentially conquer Moscow, Belarus, they could take Belarus. 25,000 Wagner troops. Yeah, I'm sure they could. Now, there's a lot of Russian troops in Belarus as well, but there's Russian troops there too. So, Wagner tries to do that, then the Russians jump in and try to stop them. So, who knows, but still, Kelly, I don't understand your question. There's no button for me to access questions. It doesn't matter where the questions are. They're in the void. There's literally nothing for me. There's no button. There's nothing on my screen for me to pull up questions. Nothing. So, any updates on the threat to detonate the nuclear power plant? Nope. Other than the, international, the IAEA, the UN, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN body overseeing such things, saying last week that they just didn't see. They didn't see anything. They didn't see bombs. They didn't see anything. But they did kind of admit at one point that Russia could do it anyway. Let me look. I'm gonna look again just to make you people happy. Tips. Nothing there. Nothing there. See? Tips. No questions. Well, you can't see because TikTok also is doing some weird thing with my screen being very bright. So that's okay. Oh my. Okay. That was weird. TikTok, like I closed my phone and it kept playing somebody's video. That was kind of bizarre. Some old man. Oh my God. I'm yawning at you guys. Sorry. Oh, no updates on the rumor that Kadyrov is seriously ill. The rumor is that Kadyrov, who's the Chechen leader, kind of an ass. They're the TikTok warriors. They're the folks who they like to video themselves and put themselves on YouTube and TikTok to brag about how strong they are. And the one time at the beginning of the war they did it, they put video on YouTube and the Ukrainians, and they put this Muslim music. It was like this call to, the Muslim prayer music, right? So it was like, this kind of stuff. And it was trying to be like really like, it was all the troops in the forest on the ground praying, but they were trying, basically, Kadyrov was playing on the evil Muslim stereotype. I mean, that's exactly what it was. They were Muslims praying and getting ready to fight. And like idiots, they posted this on YouTube. The Ukrainians were able to geolocate their position and bombed them and got them all. So Kadyrov's people are kind of a joke, at least to some degree, because they seem to be more interested in getting their photos taken than actually fighting. But there were rumors. There were rumors that he was deathly ill in the hospital. But who knows? It'd be nice if he were, because he's not a good man. So I'm monitoring on my iPad. I'd have to leave TikTok to go to the homepage of my iPad. Then TikTok would close down. So, and typically I can go to my phone and look for the Q&A, and it's there. That's how I do it. There's no other way to do it. You've got to do it via a separate thing. Because on the iPad that I am on TikTok on my iPad right now, hello iPad, hello TikTok, there's no way to access questions when you're live, because TikTok in its wisdom took that function away first. First, they got rid of the Q&A function that I could like pull up questions in the live. Now they got rid of the Q&A function where I can pull up questions back in my profile, because they're really smart people. All right. Enough of that, Kelly. What else we got? All right, guys, I'm going to look for one or two more questions, and then we'll go. I don't want to drag this out. Drag it out too late. Excuse me. Oh, boy. All right, guys. I'm not seeing anything too exciting here. No, NATO has no policy to kick members, but I read an article about that said even though NATO has no policy about how to kick out members, they should be able to. Yeah, we'll go to Discord. We can go to Discord for a little bit afterwards tonight. They should be able to. So they probably can anyway. It's just basically not having a policy doesn't mean you can't do it. Thank you, Pam Pam. The legal interpretation would be that not having a policy simply means we haven't defined it yet. Now, you could argue that NATO needs to define the policy, and maybe it needs a unanimous, consent to do that or something. Who knows, right? I am not going to be doing my live tomorrow because it's the 4th of July, and even though that's not why, tomorrow I'm going to be dealing with my dog freaking out about the fireworks. And I thought the last thing I need is to have my room go quiet at this hour when everyone's doing fireworks outside. My apartment needs to have loud music at this hour so the dog does not hear the fireworks. So no live tomorrow, Tuesday. The next one will be Wednesday. All right, let me do a quick summary of the news, and then we'll go over to the Discord and hang out there a little bit. It's discord.aravosis.com. And then you can go check out the auctions. It's day 494 of Putin's 3-day special military operation. It's also Manda Bear's birthday. Zelensky said in a CNN interview that the war will not end until Ukraine gets back Crimea and all of its territory. Ukrainian forces shot down 13 of 17 drones fired by Russia early Monday morning, and the other 4 drones crashed and hit nothing. Per CNN, Ukraine claims to have taken back 9 square kilometers of territory in the east of the country and 28 square kilometers in the south, totaling 14 square miles, excuse me. The heaviest fighting of the last day or so has been in Bakhmut and Marinka in the east, but Russian forces have gained some ground near the eastern Ukrainian town of Svatove, which I explained is strategically important because it's an important logistics hub for Russia. The Wagner Group apparently is moving to Belarus, which means that they may not be destroyed. They may live to fight another day. A new investigative center launched today to investigate Russia for the crime of aggression in Ukraine. The Russian International Air Show was canceled for the first time in 30 years. That made Russia sad. Seems to be that they're afraid of the Ukrainians, I think, attacking them with drones. The European Union is considering allowing a Russian bank currently under sanction the chance to create a subsidiary which would reconnect to the global financial network in exchange for Russia not threatening the grain deal for at least a while. 700,000 children have been moved from the Ukrainian conflict zones to Russia, according to a Russian politician. Sky News says the Ukrainian defense minister shared a video yesterday warning potential Russian holidaymakers away from going on vacation in Crimea, and they played videos of bombs dropping and things to Madonna's holiday song, which I love. A line 13 kilometers long continues to grow on a bridge connecting Crimea with southern Russia. And that's it. Finally, Nizzy Boy asks, are you against getting along with Russia? No, but as long as they're committing genocide, I'm all for beating them into the dust, which is what we are hopefully going to do, because they're committing genocide and they're an evil, nasty country, a dictatorship. They've threatened the world for, about 116 years now under various names, and they're doing it again. And I don't like that. I don't like bullies, and I don't like countries that try to commit genocide and try to wipe countries. I don't like countries that steal 700,000 children. So all of that, happy to get along with Russia once they give the kids back, once they give the land back, and once they disarm. And then I'm fine with it. And they'd also have to pay $300 billion in aid to Ukraine to pay for putting the country back to where it was before. And then I'm happy to get along with Russia. But, the problem is, it's kind of like saying, don't you want to get along with the serial killer? And the Christian in me isn't strong enough for me to say yes. But if it were really strong, it would be, yes, I would forgive the serial killer. But I'm not going to forgive the serial killer, at least until he stops eating people and pays for it. That was a really weird analogy, but you get it. So Russia has to stop eating people. All right, guys, let's go to Discord. Is America not a bully? Iraq, Afghanistan, Cuba. Cuba deserved it. Iraq deserved it the first time. Afghanistan deserved it the first time. 9/11. So, dictatorship of Cuba, you need to do a little research on Cuba and what Cuba has done with dictatorship over the years. Afghanistan, hand in hand with the Taliban attacking us on 9/11, and Iraq, the first time the SOB absolutely deserved to be invaded and bombed. The second time was a lie. I didn't support that war at the time, and I still don't support the second Iraq war. So, and finally, if you're such good friends with Iraq, Cuba, and Afghanistan, that doesn't really explain why your friends Russia get to commit genocide in Ukraine. And sometimes somebody on the extreme left or the MAGA right, sort of the America-hating group on both sides, has to explain why America being evil means your friend can commit genocide and steal children. When you can explain that, then we'll make cake. Okay, let's go to Discord, discord.aravosis.com, and we'll hang out there for a while too. It's John's after party. Okay, guys? Head on over. Discord's free. Join me. All right. Bye, everybody.